Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I made you co-host, brother.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, السلام عليكم.
Wa alaikum salam. Brother
Brother
Ali, welcome.
Abbas.
Inshallah, we'll be starting in 5 minutes, inshallah.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
I can, yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Fantastic. Just give us just a couple more minutes. Brother Hasnain should be ready, and then we can get started, inshallah.
no problem.
Jazakallah.
Is the
Alaikum, brother.
camera just... Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Hussein.
How are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. How's it going?
Alhamdulillah.
Just so everyone knows, this is right now live. We're on air. Jazakallah.
Okay. Is the camera okay?
Yes, brother, we can see you. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Bismillah.
I think we can get started, brother Hussein. If you can put the slides on, inshallah.
Go ahead, Brother Ali. Just do it without the slides. Oh, yeah, brother. I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry.
No, brother Hussein. Go ahead, brother Ali. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
We start, inshallah.
Yes, Bismillah.
Okay. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعان وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعان أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار على رسول الله وآله الأطهار صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد. Thank you, Brother Ali Saidi. Jazakallah khair. That was beautiful. That was really well recited. Thank you very much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. On behalf of Masjid Al-Hayy, Vice Academy, and MIT Mubin, I would like to welcome you all to this discussion on reviving the spirit of Ramadan. We are again fortunate to have with us this evening renowned speaker Haj Hasnain Rajab Ali. Haj Hasnain is a world-traveled motivational speaker who has debated and conducted dialogue with atheists and people of other faiths to promote unity and uphold common moral values in a caring and sharing world.
You gotta get better at that.
He's also joined by Brother Hussein Sharara, who has a background in cognitive behavior and meditation and has helped people of all ages overcome issues from cancer, low desires, and limiting beliefs. Welcome to the program. MashaAllah, we are also fortunate to have a great online audience for this interactive session. Before we start, I just have a few housekeeping items I'd like to cover for the benefit of all watching online. For those of you who have joined us on YouTube, please post your relevant questions on the YouTube chat while the discussion is going on, and I will pose that question to the panel. We will be monitoring it through and we'll be using these questions as appropriate. You can also email us at masjidalhay.org. That's info@masjidalhay.org. The questions do have to pertain to the topic at hand, else I will not be able to put them forward. If we do miss your questions or are unable to pose them due to time constraints, I do apologize in advance. However, we will try our best to get in as many of them as possible. We also have a few respected members joining our Zoom session. We thank you for being part of this session and for enhancing it with your comments and questions and keeping the interaction flowing. Please do allow the speakers to finish before you ask your question or add any comments. Jazakallah. So let's get right to it. Tonight, we are at the 30th night of Sha'ban, and tomorrow night will most probably be the first night of Ramadan. It could be possible that tonight is the first night, but most probably tomorrow will be the first night. Many of us have been getting ready through this month of Sha'ban and have started reciting Quran more, have been fasting and getting more in tune with our spiritual self. However, there may be a few members online and here that may be feeling that they are not ready. Firstly, so I'd like to put this question out to you, Brother Hasnain and Brother Hussein. Is there anything that indicates that we have to be ready or that we are ready? Is there anything that indicates that? And secondly, if they are not feeling ready, is there still time to do something about it?
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an honor to be here, and especially the fact that as we turn, Shaban into Ramadan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with 3 months, Rajab, Shaban, Ramadan, to get ready and to prepare ourselves for a spiritual journey towards Allah in a way that is unprecedented in life. So the question you're asking, brother, is, should we be ready? And if we're ready, what do we do? The first question, obviously, is that there is never a time when you and I should not be preparing ourselves to be ready. And preparation is technically readiness, because when you're preparing, that is the readiness. There is no sort of red line mark to say, you're ready. If you ask the Prophet, are you ready? He will tell you, I'm on a journey towards Allah, and I'm constantly struggling to be ready, so that when the opportunity strikes, I will respond to it. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Therefore, respond, to Allah's call, right? The ability to respond to Allah's call is that preparedness. So for someone to say that, is there a time when, we should just give up ourselves, where we say we can never be ready? That's impossible. Up to the last moment of our lives, we should constantly be struggling to be ready, to be able to be received by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to constantly struggle, but how do we struggle? In the most practical, pragmatic way, we need to keep away from haram. It's extremely important for us to recognize that which Allah has forbidden must be rejected. So if there's a bad habit we have where we cannot avoid, which is leading us to become apathetic, leading us to become potentially evildoers, then that's something that you and I must focus on. Now, sometimes we focus on something that may not necessarily be so bad. And then what happens is shaitan tricks us in focusing on things that are not necessarily so bad, and takes all our energy there. And then we forget that the more important things that we should be keeping away from are forgotten. So there's this tafakkur, there's this, what you call thought, reflection, meditation, introspection, and then asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you constantly. Oh Allah, show me. رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا. Don't let my heart go astray after you've guided me. Show me the pathway. That all leads to this preparation.
Jazakallah. Brother Hussein, do you have anything on there?
Just to add on to it, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. To be ready, the interesting thing about Ramadan, unlike Hajj or prayer, where prayer you have to go do an action, Hajj you have to go do an action. For me, Shahr Ramadan is about the resistance, where you're resisting food, you're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to do certain actions, where God isn't putting you in that motion of energy saying, resist, remove those low desires, control and be conscious. And when you're conscious, I think Shahr Ramadan gets you ready for the rest of the year to say, okay, what can I control the low desires? And when people do that, then they're able to manifest certain things. Really, that's what it is for me. That's just preparation, just like going to the gym or practicing basketball or whatever it is. I was watching a Michael Jordan, they did this documentary, and first year, he's a rookie, he's single, he's wealthy, he can do anything. And they invited him to a hotel room. And he went in there, and all 11 players were either drinking, doing drugs, or doing some type of haram. He said he took one step in, and he saw his whole future in front of him. And he says, I was able to resist all that. And within 1 year, all the players that were in the room were gone, and he was the only one left. I think that's what Shahr Ramadan is, to put us in that reflection saying, what is it that I need to stop doing? Can I start being committed to my commitments? If I'm going to read the whole, use these 30 days to read one juzat every day, am I going to be committed to that? What low desire do I have to start resisting? Just like you have to resist food or water, Is it a relationship I have to stop resisting? Is it something in the way I treat my parents who I have to stop resisting? And to be conscious and aware, because you know the ayah in the Quran, it brings you consciousness, it brings you awareness, it brings taqwa. What is taqwa? Is that consciousness, it's that awareness. And I think that's why, you know, in Shaban and in the months before that, it's good recommended to fast. It's recommended, but this month it's an obligation. So why is this an obligation? Because God is saying, well, I'm putting you, because it's so important, just like your 5 daily prayers are an obligation. Where just one day of fasting in this month equals all the other days in the last 60 days. That's how important it is. And I really think it's just like practice, to go into the gym, to get you ready for the next 11 months of teaching you how to resist certain things. And if we learn how to do that, then when you close those doors of things that you needed to resist, new doors will open up. So inshallah, that's the way I look at this holy month.
Thank you, Brother Omar. I think you have a comment.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you,
Assalam.
Hajj Hassanin and Brother Hussein. Actually, I wanted to add on to what you were saying, Hajj Hassanin, and a little bit about what you were saying, Brother Hussein, about the sins and the evil deeds that we have to avoid. I think a lot of people imagine that Islam is a religion of a bunch of do's and don'ts. But what they don't see, and this is something, an analogy that was given to me by a friend, if you think about the game of soccer, are you really playing the game of soccer if you avoid touching the ball with your hands, you never touch it, you stay in bounds, but you never kick the ball into the goal? Are you really playing the game? And the objective of life ultimately is to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so all of the rules are followed in the pursuit of the goal. And I feel like one of the things that's very beneficial in this is that the idea of focusing on the problems that we avoid, the sins that we avoid, is because those things bring us harm in our lives. They don't allow us to live the best life that Allah has deemed for us. Allah, the master and creator of the universe, knows what's best for us. And therefore he knows what's good for us and what's bad for us. And everything he has made wajib is for our benefit. And everything he has made haram is to our detriment. You notice in society, we have a lot of riba, and you have payday loans and all of these things that are cheating people and destroying society.
Yes.
Every deviation from Allah's law leads to corruption on earth. So a lot of times, at least when I was a child growing up, I thought, oh, Allah has all these prohibitions. They're just a bunch of rules to make my life more difficult. But that's not the purpose. They're so that we live the best life.
And Allah mentions in the Quran, فَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ, right? In Ayat al-Kursi, the extended part of Ayat al-Kursi, Allah says, if you reject the demigods, meaning reject everything negative, anything that takes you away from Allah, any haram, any distraction, فَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ, the Quran uses a beautiful analogy. فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا. You're holding on to the rope of Allah firmly and it will not break. Right? So it's a beautiful example that for you and I to hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we must reject the demigods. The biggest demigod is our own self, our own ego. Iblis fell and became a kafir because of his ego. There was no other distraction. It's interesting, by the way, you know, we say, well, shaitan distracted me. You know, shaitan took me away from Allah. Shaitan is the one who distracts me when it comes to time for prayers. Well, then the question we have to ask is, who distracted shaitan for him to have become shaitan? Because he was a good worshipping jinn. How did he get distracted? And you will notice that your greatest shaitan that we have is ourselves. Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions that your greatest enemy is yourself and your greatest friend is yourself. So I think we have to look at that and say that biggest taghut within us is our own ego. And the month of Ramadan is when we subdue it. We submit, we surrender. Islam, taslim, فَمَن يُسْلِمْ وَجْهَهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ, the one who submits his face towards Allah. This is not a concept. This is not a theory. This is a reality. And if we don't, God forbid, we become narcissistic, egotistic, destructive, like the leaders we have today in some countries. And you find that they're so narcissistic that it's costing millions of lives today and tomorrow because of this narcissism. You look at Muawiyah was a narcissist, Yazid was a narcissist, Fir'aun was a narcissist. All these people did not take account of their own inner evils, and it led to their achieving power, which led to so much destruction that the reverberations of such destructions continue until today. There are people who actually emulate and follow those evil deeds. So month of Ramadan preparation, first and foremost, is to look at yourself and say, what can I do to subdue myself? If I get angry, then probably something's wrong with me. But usually when we get angry, we say everybody else is wrong. That's why I'm angry. There's no justice in the world. That's why I'm angry. People are bad. That's why I'm angry. How about we say, well, maybe people are not that bad. Or even if the people are bad, how about I become better and swallow my anger? So let's do that. And this is the preparation for this month, the month of Ramadan. And I'm going to quote a verse in verse 186 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the famous verse, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Right? So this first sentence, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. This blessed month is the month the Quran was revealed. And our scholars tell us all the scriptures of Allah were revealed in holistic form in this month on the night of Qadr. Okay, every prophet who received revelation received it on this night. Laylatul Qadri khayru min alfi shahr. We're going towards that critical 19th, 21st, 23rd night. Within Ramadan is preparation also, right? Then Allah says, أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. It's a guidance from mankind. هدى للناس وبينات. It's a evidence, proof, right? من الهدى والفرقان. It is a book that gives you guidance, and it's a furqan, meaning it takes the gray, the confusing matters of life, and it clarifies it. تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم هدى ورحمة للمحسنين. This is a book that has the verses of wisdom. Kitab, the book of wisdom, right? These are the verses from a book of wisdom. Kitab al-Hakim, hudan wa rahmatan. It's a guide and a mercy for the good doers. So I think we should look and not only read Quran in Ramadan. I see people say, I'm going to finish the whole Quran in Ramadan. It's beautiful, but no, reflect on it. Take one verse, walk it, talk it, live it, and die with it, and see how the Quran will just permeate. There's so much to share on this.
And there's one, when a person came and asked the Prophet for advice, says, can you give me a piece of advice? The Prophet asked him 3 times, are you sure you're going to take this advice? Because you talked about reflection. He says, whenever you're about to start something, look at it till its end. So if you're about to get angry, see where it's going to take you. If you're about to grab something or do something, where is it going to take you? And if you could just get into that state of reflection in this holy month and say, the things that I'm doing right now, where's the end product? What's the end goal? And there's no greater end than paradise, than being next to the Prophet.
Exactly.
So just the question of, will the Prophet be pleased with me? And the Prophet said, just take this advice. And he told the person 3 times, will you take it if I tell you? And 3 times the person said yes, and then he finally gave this advice. And there's no bigger reflection than that. And if everything that we do would the Prophet be, I think for us also, do we behave the same way as we do at work, at home, and with our friends? And if we don't, then there's a lie somewhere in your life. And reflect on that and saying, how can I be consistent with all 3 and where I have the end product the same in all 3? I think that's the key.
So, I mean, thinking about that, just kind of moving forward, when we're talking about ourselves right now and how we could actually potentially be the people who have to look inside ourselves to see how we can improve ourselves. Right now, in the situation that we're in, we have our children with us, and with the pandemic happening, we're inside right now. Our children are with us right now. So how do we heighten the consciousness of our children during this time? What do we do? Because now they're with us at the moment, and right now it's the opportunity for us to be able to do something for them. How can we do that? How can we heighten their consciousness during this month?
I just really quick, and inshallah Hajj will answer. For me, it's watching my kids go and where they're behaving with each other. And let's say one kid gets angry at the other and turns off the TV or throws the Xbox controller or does something disruptive. And then we as parents try to go while they are in an unconscious state and angry, saying, what are you doing? And trying to give them advice at that state. It's like, imagine somebody pulls you or somebody, makes you angry, robs you or cuts you off. And then they come and ask you, how's your day? Or what's your plan tomorrow? You say, no, because you're in a state of anger, in a state of survival. So when you're like that, you don't take advice. So what I do is I wait till the end of the night and I say, hey, you remember you got a little bit angry? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I know. And you do that conversation 2-3 days, and then something miraculous will happen. My son will shut off the TV, and then you'll see my daughter going and she'll catch herself. And when you see that moment, that's consciousness, that's awareness. And then what happens is they start doing it to you. Like yesterday, I told my daughter, I'm feeling sick, I'm tired. I said, Dad, no, don't say that, or else you'll get sicker, because your thoughts could, be infested. And she's telling me this, and I'm shocked. And I think that's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us, how to be conscious, but not in the state of anger. It's a state of awareness, that state of reflection. And really, Imam Khomeini told us, take the whole day and replay it at night. See, what can you do tomorrow? And that's how you rewire consciousness, because kids will never listen to what you say. They listen to what you do. And I'll always say this, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's how you're being conscious and aware.
Yeah, very good point. And Brother Abbas, you're asking, in this pandemic period, the fact that you're close to your children on a longer, protracted period of time, that gives you the ability to understand them better. Yesterday, I had a dialogue with our middle schoolers. Today, I had a dialogue with the high schoolers. And as I'm asking them questions, how are you coping with this pandemic? Are you innovating new ways by which to learn, in a virtual way? And how do you manage conflict, the fact that you're so confined sometimes due to your inability to leave the house? And majority of the students tell me, well, we figured out ways by which to become calmer. We take things better. We dialogue. So with my siblings, one of them said, well, when I have an issue with my sibling, instead of getting angry, I talk to my sibling and we discuss it. So these are solutions that are fantastic that you would never have figured out had you not gone through this trial of a pandemic. We never know what our situation is. People like Nelson Mandela, is in prison for more than 2 decades. How do you, in a cell that is so small, you would go insane if you thought about it, right? But you have to innovate. And when he comes out, he's full of hope. He becomes the first president of South Africa, but he doesn't have any vengeance, no hatred for the white race. So something must have happened in prison by which he took account of himself and realized that his only way to succeed is to not allow the enemy to subdue them. So today we have a pandemic and we are locked in, but let's be innovative. There are 1,000 fantastic opportunities. Hussein is talking about how he's monitoring his kids. His son does something, he notices. His daughter does something, he notices, she notices. That exchange of noticing and communication is cathartic. It's fantastic. This is true realization of values, right? Many a times we are in a rat race chasing shadows in the dark, as I use this example, which means that it's absurd. It's not even there because there's no shadow in the dark. Yet you find people are constantly trying to build their empires. And it takes one invisible entity that we don't even know where it lies and puts chaos into all of us, when the greatest invisible is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is ever present and is telling us that I am with you, don't lose hope. So I think if we take into account that this opportunity, and I use this opportunity very carefully because I really think that whether it's a pandemic or the world is getting rain with gold, it doesn't matter. What matters is what are you doing with it? For if there was no sickness, no problems, we would be in a very difficult situation because our arrogance would be beyond conceit. We wouldn't know how to manage ourselves because we would be so lost in our compound ignorance. So alhamdulillah, Allah gives us some loss, some fear. That's why Allah warns us all the time with loss and fear, because it's the way to reclaim yourself. So I think we should take this advantage. I'll give you a quick example. At home, many a times I would promise my mother to do things, right? My mother asked me to do things and so on, but I'm so busy running around like a chicken without a head that you don't have time. You feel guilty, oh, I should, I want to, but time is of the essence, right? subhanallah, I have accomplished more this month than I have in the entire year. I have indulged in domestic work, construction, fixing things, helping, readily jumping. Even my mother just looks at me and I'm just jumping to do things. I feel like, wow, this is the dua, inshallah, in another presentation, I will recite the dua of Imam Zainul Abidin, where the Imam is asking Allah that, oh Allah, take these distractions away from me so that I can worship you. And here it is. And subhanallah, I must say, in this last month, especially from the 15th onward, because of the birth of Imam Sahib al-Zaman 15 days before Ramadan, I don't know how to explain it, but it is the most incredible feeling that I've ever had in my entire life. And it's almost like this preparation of Ramadan is just flowing so beautifully. And knowing in the back that the enemy is trying to destroy humanity, and yet the Imam is getting ready to come. The kings, the tyrant kings today are fighting within themselves. They're losing wars. The superpower nations are no longer winning. The era of occupation and colonialism is dying, right? There's something amazing that's coming around the corner, and I feel it. I feel that incredible energy. And where does that energy, where is it harnessed? It's in the Quran. When Allah says, Shahru Ramadan, alladhi unzila fi al-Quran, Allah is not just telling me that Quran was revealed in the month. Allah is telling me that this month is so important that I even revealed the Quran in it. And the Quran is so important that I put it in the month of Ramadan. So the combination is unparalleled. And I advise us all as an audience that let's indulge in a little reflection, meditation. When you do Salatul Fajr, read one surah, reflect on it, meditate, talk about it, go to sleep with it. You wake up for Dhuhr, read us another short surah. You wake up, you do Maghrib and Isha, do it. After Isha Salah, take the Quran and reflect on it. Reflection, not just rituals. Rituals are good, but if they don't translate into some cognitive absorption within our souls where the heart starts to palpitate. When Allah says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the signs of Allah are shown, your heart palpitates. When the verses of the Quran are recited, your faith increases. We want to be at that level, that you hear somebody make a quotation, or somebody's playing Quran somewhere in the distance or in your house, or you walk in a building and the Quran is playing. It's not sound that's filling the air. You're carefully monitoring that sound.
Thank you.
And I think I just want to add on really quick, Abbas, is, there's a brother who called me a week and a half ago in despair, lost his job, they didn't get unemployment. And I said, well, did you do the mental rehearsal? What do you want to do? So I taught him the whole concept of mental rehearsal. I like the word that better than visualization. Gave him, a special dua to recite. I said, envision. I said, where do you want to work? I said, I want to work for the state. I want to be a public servant. I've always envisioned that. I said, then what if maybe you had to lose this job to gain the other? He says, I can't think that way. I said, but why not envision it? There are people that they took two groups of people and they had them, one group do piano lessons. They did functional brain scan. After 1 week, new connections. Obviously, you learn something new, new experiences, new connections. They took another group of people. They just had a mental rehearse. Same thing happened in her brain. The body was caught up to the mind, where the body didn't know the difference between happening, what's there, and actually doing. And then when they gave them a piano after a month or a week of piano lessons, in their mind only, the same as the other group. They even did it with biceps. 1 month, 2 hours a day, emotion of strength, visualization of lifting weights, 13% growth compared to people who actually lift weights, 15%. So if you could use your brain as a record of the future instead of a record of the past, and really put yourself there, then it will manifest. Just like in heaven, you get to manifest things, you get to create. In this world, you do the same, but if it's the bad thing, it could hurt you, or in heaven, it's not. So I'm giving this brother the lesson. He says, brother, you won't believe what happened. I filed for unemployment. They denied me. I'm speaking to them, and they're telling me they have a job opening. Why don't I come work? And now I wanted a state job. I had to lose my other job. And he told me today, he says, this is the happiest day of my life. Well, did that happen because he waited something from outside to happen to become happy? No. He was first whole in, and then it became. And I think that's what this month is for, to learn how to become an all within, and then an all moment will happen, just like Hajj. Hajj didn't have to wait for something outside to happen for him to feel all. It was within, and then the all happens without. Just like love. Can't find love. You learn how to love yourself, and then that, that princess will come, the prince will come. But you have to first visualize, who is that person that I want? And am I that person? And I think that's what the Quran is there for, just to reflect. So much mental rehearsal in the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ would be commanding people, servants, slaves, prisoners, people who tried to kill the Prophet, said, rehearse this way. Even Imam Hussein ﷺ, he would tell people, rehearse. This is where you're going to be. Envision it. Don't come and kill me. Some people changed. Some others, unfortunately, they couldn't see. They couldn't think greater than the way they felt, and they lost their free will. And I think that's this month is taking that free will back.
MashaAllah, thank you so much. I just wanted to tell the crowd as well that please don't forget, you can send in your questions on YouTube chat or on email at info@masjidalhayy.org. Please do that for us. Thank you so much. Brother Omar, I think you wanted to put something in there as well. Please go ahead.
Yes, alhamdulillah. So actually, such a good conversation, mashallah. I wanted to build on a couple of things that have been mentioned so far. So Hajj Hassanin, I'm really glad you mentioned Nelson Mandela, because the fact that he spent so much of his time in prison really did have a great effect on his development. But for those of you who are familiar with the Nabi Yusuf series, the Iranians put together a television show depicting the life of Joseph, the son of Jacob, Nabi Yusuf. And I'm not going to give away the whole story. Of course, it's all in the Quran, but there's a point at which he's in prison, and there was a very striking scene that happened in that show where all the prison is completely a mess. There are rats running around everywhere. It's a very disgusting place. And he starts going around and cleaning the prison. And the other prisoners ask him, what are you doing? Why are you cleaning this? We're in a prison. This isn't a hotel. This isn't a cottage. This isn't a vacation. He said, listen, I'm a human. We're humans. We're stuck in this place. We shouldn't live like animals. We should clean up where we are. And he actually said something like, the whole of this world is a prison for the human being, for the believer. The only question is, when do you get to leave? But you don't have to live in a terrible situation when you are choosing to be in a more positive one than that. And so I feel like in this time of pandemic, like you were describing, the high school and the middle school youths, they found a way to make the most of their environment. And that is each and every one of our options. That's an option for us. And as you mentioned, Brother Hussein, that's a mention for us to model for our children and for our family and for our community. And actually, the reason I'm remembering this Nabi Yusuf story so much is because at the very beginning of this pandemic, I decided that with the people that I'm sharing my residence with, I wanted to watch that series again because it's been several years since I watched it. And I said, what better time than to take a positive action? There are some people who are binge watching Game of Thrones, and there are some people who are choosing to take time to watch beneficial lectures, to watch beneficial movies, to watch things that will wholesomely improve our lives. And again, that ties in with what you were saying, Hussein, about mental rehearsal. If you surround yourself with positive role models, not only in the media that you consume and the lectures that you watch, but the people that you surround yourself with, then that's the future that you're creating for yourself. And I think it was you, Hussein, who once told me the 5 people that you spend the most time with that's what your life is going to become. So these are all things that we should be very conscious of. And these are things that we have to be conscious with it.
If you hang out with 10 broke people or 9 broke people, you're the 10th. And I think the comparison of Prophet Yusuf, Nelson Mandela, was forgiveness. Imagine somebody who's thrown you in prison or in a well and you're able to forgive them. Nelson Mandela was not blackmailed, but was thrown in prison unjustly. And they asked him, how do you feel? Do you hold any resentment? You want to get revenge? That's why this is the month of forgiveness. And imagine somebody throwing you in prison. Would you be able to say such a line? Just like the prophets of God saying, if I were to resent anyone, it's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. I've already forgiven all of them, but I have a vision. He did a lot of mental rehearsal in prison of freeing my people. That's what prophets of God taught all of us. And that's what we need this month for. Who can we forgive? What resentment do I have to let go? Because that's in the state of stress. You want prayers to answer. Maybe it's that prayer stopping because you're holding on to something you can't let go.
Even in the business world, they say that if you ever start a business, always first start with the exit plan. You know, find out, in other words, have the exit plan before you launch your business. In other words, know the end of it.
Yes.
So that you know how to start it. So if we know the end of our lives and we know the end is وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ, then everything that we do will be properly aligned.
You know, if we could just, there's a sister who called and said, you know, I keep having this dream. My sister who passed away keeps coming to me in chains, and she's asking for forgiveness. And the reason why she's asking, because 30 years ago, she said a rumor about her daughter, and because of that, she didn't get to marry this person that she wanted to. And eventually the daughter was in a toxic relationship, ended up getting cancer and passing away, and she held on to this resentment. So she said, every time I've had this dream about 8 times, I cannot forgive my sister. She says, I don't know what to do. I said, well, actually in your dream, it's all about you. It's got nothing to do with your sister. I said, actually, you forgiving her, God has given you an answer for you to let that go, and you need to forgive. The next day, she came and she was able to forgive her, and she said it was the most freeing feeling.
Exactly.
We don't realize that when we do that.
And that's preparation, by the way. When we ask preparation for Ramadan, spirituality, how do we revive the spirit of Ramadan? It's proactivity, taking action and forgiving people, getting into dialogue to solve problems, removing misconceptions and misunderstandings, opening up our pocketbook to be more charitable, to give to those who are in need, especially now and with the COVID problem and Ramadan coming up tomorrow, day after tomorrow. It's very important for us to practice charity, the willingness. Every time we give money, we should ask, how willing am I really to give? And when we give, let's not give to say, oh, God promised me he'll double this money if I give it. Don't say that. Allah is merciful in telling us that, but don't give for that reason. When someone says, mashallah, you're giving, don't say, yeah, inshallah, Allah will double it for me. We can say that to the person, that may Allah double it for you, triple it for you, make it 10 times more. But the person giving should always say, Allah has given me too much, shame on me if I don't give it. That's better.
Jazakallah. I have a question from the audience. Ramadan Mubarak. Because of the plague COVID-19, Muslims will be challenged like no other time in reference to our belief and faith. This Ramadan is more than a ritual, but rather it is about our inner spirit of our truth and religion. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I think the whole human race is challenged under the COVID problem. It's even Christians are challenged, Jews are challenged, Hindus are challenged, because the minute you have a lockdown and you're not able to socially engage in a gregarious way, it's a challenge. Now, in fact, I find the fact that the distancing reduces the pressure of people asking the question about shaking hands and hugging and so on, and the bars being shut down, the casinos being shut down, I think it's less of a challenge, alhamdulillah. I know
Hookah
people
lounges.
hookah lounges are shut down. So at least people are, indulging in less of that in a communal way. And people socialize with alcohol and so on. I know they do it in their homes, but it's a lot less, alhamdulillah. Even our environment is getting cleaner. As I say, in Venice, you can see the bottom of the water. I saw a video of a jellyfish, swimming right through the canals. It was amazing. Never seen a jellyfish swim through that. So there is that environmental factor that's positive. So yes, we are being challenged, but we're being challenged more by the fact that there is a concerted effort to attack Islam, to vilify it, to demonize it in a political perspective. That has always been a challenge and will continue to be the challenge, because Shaitan knows where the truth lies and he's not going to let go, right? He said, فَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. By your authority, I'm going to beguile them all. So why not attack it? The question is more for us to consider, how do we defend ourselves? How do we build fortresses within ourselves that we're so strong that we're indomitable? Ramadan, the hadith says that in Ramadan, the shayateen are locked up. People think they're physically captured and put in prison and, the door is locked and the chain is put. That's not true. There's no such physical reality of shayateen. Shayateen are actively, and shayateen are not only the jinn, by the way, humans are shayateen too. They're actively distracting people. But when you and I fast in the month of Ramadan, especially, but anytime, but especially in the month of Ramadan, you find Iblis has a very tough time confusing us because we are in heightened alertness.
Yes.
We're focused. We know that my fasting has to count. We know we are blessed. We're indulgent in positive things. We don't indulge in gossiping and fault finding and backbiting. These are all very positive characteristics, and hence the hands, or to use the metaphor, the hands of shayateen and Iblis are tied. So I think that's beautiful. So we are challenged, but I look at challenges as a positive thing. So like you go to the gymnasium and you want to get fit and you really want to build muscle mass and you're very well endowed, you're not going to lift light weights. You'll find that that's a joke. You're wasting your time, they will say. You're going to keep going higher and higher. You want more and more resistance. You want more challenges. So we are being challenged, but more than us fearing the challenge, how about we fear ourselves and strengthen ourselves so that no matter what the challenge is, we'll be able to achieve it. Allah says in the Quran, "La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha." We don't put a burden more on you than you can handle. That is a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I know my Lord is not going to test me the way he tested the Holy Prophet. Impossible. Because my capacity is nowhere near his. My capacity is nowhere near the Ahlul Bayt. But I have the potential of being very close to the Prophet. I have the potential of being very close to Ahlul Bayt. All of us, every one of us. So why not take it there and say, how do I strengthen myself? And the enemy is always going to come. We live in a world where we're constantly having, whether it's COVID or no COVID. If COVID wasn't taking place right now, we were not in a lockdown, we were having this Thursday night program, would the conversation not be the same? That yes, we have challenges. Our communities are getting lost. Our kids are indulging in drugs. The haram is becoming very prevalent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So how can we use this Ramadan though? We're coming to Ramadan. How can we use this Ramadan to elevate ourselves?
In the lockdown, subhanallah, what an opportunity. You and I cannot complain in this month of Ramadan. We were busy, we had to go to work. It's very tiring. Okay, you have more time. And look at, even for me as a public speaker, I used to spend, hundreds of hours traveling around the world on a plane, right? I would put 150, 200,000 miles a year just traveling. You're talking about sometimes 24 hours on a plane. One time I flew from Sydney to Singapore to Germany to Manchester. And then I spoke there for 2 hours, got back on the plane and flew 24 hours back. I mean, do the math. To speak for 2 hours, you travel almost 48 hours plus all the time lost, plus the cost, et cetera, et cetera. Now we are rapidly reaching the world. What an opportunity. None of us have this excuse anymore to say, oh, it's very difficult to go to the masjid. You got technologies not only on a big TV, on your phone, on your watches. We've got it everywhere. There's no excuse. So let's use it. We've got electronic Quran. We've got reciters. In the morning when I recite Quran, after reading, then I will put Mishari al-Fasi, or I'll put Abu Bakr Shatari, one of these great reciters, and I'll follow. And I'll keep looking, because now I'm taking another dimension of the same surah. And I want to see, did I make a mistake in my pronunciation? Where should I do the mad? Am I making this? So I would recite with it over and over and over. And each time I hear it, I see this Quran talking to me from a different lens. This is a great opportunity. So when we say, how do we use it? Oh my God, never in my life did I ever go through Ramadan under these conditions where we are in a lockdown. For the first time, we're lecturing online. We can't even go to the places of worship anymore, right? People are at home. This is unprecedented. And I think let's take advantage of that. But while we're in our houses, sitting on the couch and listening, okay, take a room, go into a corner where you're not distracted when you're watching these lectures, when you're reading the Quran. Find the niche. Look at what Zakaria said. Zakaria prayed in the mihrab.
Yes.
You see, right? And he prayed, Yarithuni wa yarithu min ali Yaqub. Give me an inheritance in the mihrab. Why mihrab? That's the place where you're not distracted. You see, Quran even mentions min al mihrab, right? So you find that Zakaria goes into this mihrab and he's praying. Then Allah says, Ya Zakaria, inna nubashiruka bighulamin ismuhu Yahya. We're going to give you this good news that you will have a son whose name is Yahya. But what happened there is that he worshipped, he asked Allah, and he didn't find that distraction. So when you're at home, you're listening to a lecture, you're reading Quran, no distractions. You don't have any expectations to leave the house. You know, we're complaining, oh, I'm homesick. Homesick? Seriously? Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim was in prison for a very long period of time. And every time Harun, would go in there, you would find that he's in dhikr. Now, would he have gone mad? Some of us would have gone mad, claustrophobic, would have said, oh my God, we can't handle this. This is driving me crazy. Well, you know what? If he's driving us crazy, then there's something wrong with us. Look in the mirror and says, hold on, calm down. Today, one of the students in high school told me, ever since the COVID, I am less stressed. I take things slowly and I feel much more in control of life. Wow. A 14-year-old telling me that, that's profound. It's beautiful.
So I'm actually getting just because you're talking about a child, I'm getting a question right now about that. So maybe you can help me. What can we do in order to engage teens more during Ramadan, especially at the age where they don't seem to be interested in religious activities?
I mean, teachers always ask me, the kids don't focus, they're not interested. And I say, they're not, they can't focus. I said, because they always think the opposite of distraction is, they always say focus. I said, well, if they can't focus, then why is it they could play Fortnite for 8 hours? My kids right now are playing Minecraft and they just love it. And if I let them play for 24 hours, they would.
Disney.
Yeah.
They watch a movie for 2 hours, they won't blink.
So the opposite of distraction isn't focus. The opposite of distraction is attraction. I said, because teachers are not doing their job to get their kids to be attracted to the subject that they're giving. So they have to change their personality to have a different reality. Parents have to do the same. Figure out what your kids love to do and make sure they're doing it all the time. For my daughter, she loves doing slime. So I'm buying her all different types of slime kits. She makes it with her hands every day. My other daughter's right now in a reading binge with Harry Potter. So she's going through the whole series. And then at night I would go through, okay, what did you learn today? What did you go do? Because if you find a reason thinking that you cannot do it, then you're gonna be right. I did start, because I've been getting a lot of people calling me, I don't know what to do. All I wake up and I'm with my husband all day. Instead of, for the last 10 years, I haven't had to deal with this and we're going crazy. So I went and did research in China. And China's divorce rate has gone up dramatically, like 40, 50% increase compared to the normal numbers of divorce. Because they're looking at each other, instead of changing, they're pointing at the other person, says, you've always been the problem, you've been the problem, we can't handle it, and they're breaking. And I think, like Hajj says all the time, this is an opportunity. So parents, they have to look at their kids and say, just like the spouse has to communicate better, do you communicate? What are you doing through the whole day? Are you trying to understand their language to get them to be attracted so they can focus? Because I don't believe in laziness. My kids are lazy, they're just sitting home. Laziness means they're just not attracted to what you're giving them. And you have to change your personality and really research. Just like you said, the Quran in the morning, how about just research on YouTube? Becoming a better parent, watch what's out there.
But let's imagine for a moment research. I'm a child. I have no interest in research, right?
Right.
It's not exciting.
Well, the parent would have to do the research.
Correct. So what Brother Hussein is saying is that attraction, meaning take an ayah. Like my daughter today, she texted me. She said, Baba, I'm playing this game. Can I charge some money to buy some stuff on this game? I said, yeah, no problem, but there's a condition. Because I've given her before and I let her have it. I said, this time, no. I said, I'm sending you this dua, which I sent to her. I sent her all the duas. And I said, okay, tomorrow, you're going to memorize this dua. So I'm giving you till Monday, and I want to see you finish this dua. If you finish it, I may give you some more. What happens now is you're giving them a goal. That's one. This is sort of in giving them incentive. But if you make it attractive, where you play a game, like I many times I would teach her to memorize words, for example, right? Very difficult vocabulary. So when we're driving and it's an hour drive, kids get bored. So all the kids are in the car. I said, okay, we're going to play a game. And I'm going to say a word, and you're going to have to tell me the meaning of this word. and I'm going to give you 3 options, 3 tries, but I'll give you hints. And the kids, 1 hour goes by like 5 minutes. It's almost like they don't want the car to get to the destination because they're having so much fun memorizing difficult words in the dictionary. So it's not about the difficulty. It's not about the boringness. It's not about the boringness of the Quran. It's not about any of the above. Walt Disney figured it out.
Right.
Make it attractive, wrap it up right. You take a duck and make him walk and talk. You take a mouse, and you become an iconic figure. It's the emotion behind it. It's how you build that character. And the child is so intrigued by it. Now imagine if you tell a child, you tell an adult, I'm going to take a mouse and I'm going to animate it and the kids are going to love it. I say, why? That's such a boring thing. So it's not boring. It's how you make it.
And I think like when we teach Saturday school, how do we get a kid to memorize the last juzut where they've never been in Islamic school?
Exactly.
You make it very attractive where every week they have look forward to something, either a prize. Like my daughter, a week ago wanted a slime kit. And I said, well, do these 2 surahs. And within 20 minutes,
Yeah.
but if I didn't give her that, so incentives work, especially when it comes to things that you don't have to be too creative, like memorization. Incentives, obviously, outside of incentives, like my incentive is to make money. That's why, then those don't work, and science has shown that. But those self-incentives that, parents could use them, they really, really do work.
Let's make religion attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not make it mundane. Many a times our practices are mundane. And the way the mundaneness comes when a child says, why do I need to do this?
Because you go to hell.
Beta or Habibi,
Yeah.
you must do it. Because God loves us. Okay, that's nice. But if you don't do it, you're going to go to hell. This poor child is looking at you like, what wrong have I done to go to hell? But Habibi, you need to do this. And then the child says, why do I need to? It's no meaning.
And when the kids question, don't question, just do. You reference Prophet Zechariah. God says you're going to have a child who's barren. You're going to, and a wife and he goes, my wife's barren. We're old. I have white hair. And what did he say? He didn't say, oh God, I accept. He questioned. He said, God, how? He said, just like I created you, it's going to come. Maryam alayhi salam, she questioned.
Right. Even the angels.
The angels question, why are you creating this?
Right. Why do you want us to bow to Adam? Right. Angels usually, they just obey.
I love when people question. That's what opens doors to belief, to knowledge.
And reply with wisdom.
Yes.
When a child asks a question, don't belittle them. Take the question, nourish it. The best way to take a child's question is first paraphrase. Very important. When a child speaks and he asks you a question, don't just answer, paraphrase. Oh, what you mean is, what you're asking me is, and you say the same thing again, or you paraphrase it. The child now is engaged because it shows you care, and it shows you processed it, and it shows that you made a sentence to match his thought or her thought. That is one of the most powerful ways of communicating. Even when you have conflict, by the way, and you meet an adversary, or even when you're doing customer relations and you're doing customer service, and you have an irate customer, the way you diffuse the anger is paraphrase what they just said. The minute you do that, the other side says, oh, you care. You heard me and you repeated it.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, by the way, no matter what you tell this person,
yes,
it doesn't matter anymore.
That's how you build rapport. Right. If a person comes in, I'm not, this is not going to work. There's no solution to this problem. How do you build rapport? You bring that same energy. There is a solution to this problem. It's going to work. Person comes in slow. I can't do it. I'm gonna die. This cancer's. I think you can do it. I think you. And if you learn how to build that rapport, but when kids come on with one energy and you bring a different, and then it's like when a parent came in a few months ago. My son, can you speak to him? And I took away his phone. He got rid of his girlfriend. And I could see this fear that the son had of the father. Because whenever your kid comes to you about a mistake and you make them feel worse, they're going to hide things from you. Right. You haven't built that rapport. So I'm looking at this boy. I said, there's no way he's removed this girl. His low desires can control him. You can see it. It's all over him. So I asked him, I said, when's the last time you spoke to this girl? He says, since my dad took my phone away. How long ago? Oh, it's been over a month. I said, okay, if you tell your father that you probably have another phone right now and you're probably still communicating with her, I'll talk to him about you keeping your phone and we're going to figure this out. He says, you promise? He says, yeah. So what does he do? He takes out of his pocket, he puts out. The father goes, where'd you get that from? So what did the father do? Instead of taking that as opportunity to make the kid more conscious in himself, he allowed anger to come in. He took the phone and he got angry. And I said, man, that was a test for you, not for your son. The reason why your son is hiding and having these relationships is because of you,
Right.
and you don't see it. And parents got to take this as an opportunity to reflect on themselves for their kids to change, not waiting for their kids to change and for them to change, not waiting for the reality to change for their personality. They change. I really believe in
There's
that.
so
Actually, I
much,
love
brother. There's so much, brother Abbas, in
It
terms
was
of
fantastic.
yeah, in terms of making things attractive for our children. You know, the camp, when we started the camp, why was the camp? People were saying to me, you're building a camp? What's going to happen at the camp? What is it, like a jungle where Tarzan is going to jump tree to tree, you know? I said, no,
Right.
it's a place where we socialize, where we become real. A week ago, I got an email from a brother who used to send his son from Toronto, and his son was sort of borderline, didn't really care about religion, you know, was traditional. And his father says, I want my son to become more spiritual. So he sent him to our camp. And his son came home and told his dad, this is cool. Islam is cool.
Yes.
I like it. It's
Wow.
cool. Listen to the word. It's cool. A week ago, he sent me an email. My son is in second year of medical school in Kansas City. And I attribute the success of my son partially because of this camp, where my son felt cool with Islam, and he has maintained his deen, that now he's becoming a doctor, but he's a moral doctor. He's an ethical doctor, and I want to appreciate that. So if we make things attractive,
MashaAllah.
you know, people will just flow
And
into it.
nobody made it more attractive than the Prophet. Nobody made him more cooler. People love to be next to the Prophet.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, if you're a parent, do your kids wake up looking excited to see you? It's like teachers. Do they look excited? Do your students look excited to see you every day? The answer is no. Say, what can you do to change about yourself? People look forward to seeing the Prophet every day. Imagine you being the same way.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. Brother Omar, I know you have a comment. Please go ahead.
If you want, Brother Abbas, you could just ask the next question if there's any more.
No.
Sure.
Oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. I thought Brother Omar was. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I was. Oh no,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say that I was thinking about what we were talking about earlier about spiritually strengthening, and what can we do in this time of quarantine. You've given some really good examples for families, for individuals, in terms of actually changing our own personality if we can, and if once we realize that we need to. And of course, one of the biggest keys is awareness. But I wanted to ask you guys a question, and I guess I'll ask it and then answer from my perspective, and then get some feedback for one or two things from both of you. One of my question is, what are some daily practices or weekly practices that we can incorporate into our daily lives to make these transitions? Because the number one thing that people are looking for is a how. They need to know what to do, how to do it, and like maybe you can even describe how to implement it. So the one that I wanted to share was something that I actually shared with your group, Brother Hussein, your book club, is I have found that writing is a transformational process. And I actually wrote a book about it. It's available for free online. If you'd like, Brother Abbas, I can send you the link, and maybe you can post it on the YouTube or wherever. But writing is such a powerful behavior. And I was on a conference earlier about the sermon of Sha'ban from the Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in it, he quoted that 3 of the pieces of advice that the Prophet gave were be careful or watchful of your tongue, of your eyes, and of your ears. And interestingly enough, not only by writing daily or as often as you can, in order to purify the thoughts that you think and the words that you write, but also the words that you speak. And like you were talking about, Hussein, there are some people who say, oh man, I'm always down on myself. I'm no good at this. I'm never going to get better at this. And if you keep saying those words,
It'd be true.
that's going to continue to be your reality. So if you become vigilant and listen to what you're saying and consciously shift and say something, instead of I've always been bad at sports, say I used to be bad at sports, but I'm getting better every day. That shift of language by what you speak and what you write can make tremendous differences in people's lives, in spirituality, in religious memorization, in akhlaq, in honesty, in everything. But the words you say and the words you write dramatically change your life. And so my suggestion is, taking that into consideration, what would you guys suggest for people to do?
I'll just take a quick minute and then Hajj would answer. It would be for me, there's 5 pillars of faith, and what I do is I write it down. Okay, there's sabr. Where am I at in terms of my patience with Allah? Then there's obedience. How obedient? Do I pray on time? Am I doing my wajibat on time? The other one is charity. Have I been charitable? Where am I? And I would scale it. And then there's prayer. There's other things as well. But there's about 8 million people who have filed unemployment in the last 2 weeks. It's back to the levels of the depressions of the 20s and 30s. And they've done a study where just by writing down what type of job you want, and they did two groups of people, the group that wrote down had a 60% job within 2 weeks likelihood than compared to the 20% who didn't write down. They did even a study in Ivy Leagues. They asked them, how many of you, these are Yale and Harvard, so these are not ignorant people who are not at the upper echelon. These are the upper echelon people. They asked them one question. How many of you wrote a mission statement? Only 3%. Then 20 years later, they go ahead and they ask them one question. How much money is in your bank account? And the 3% had more money than the 97% combined. Because why? There's paper written down, mental rehearsal. Their mind and body became coherent. They went after it. And I think that's the level of writing. People who have gone through rejection, people who have that despair, just by writing down the emotions of that negative relationship, and you can't, because that rejection is very toxic. You can't let it go. It's like a cloud over your head. Sometimes it takes 6 months. They found just by writing down your emotions onto a piece of paper and burning it, you do that 2-3 times, your recovery rate goes. People say, well, how does that work? So imagine when your daughter draws something and I go and ask you, what's the value? To you, it's nothing. But to me, it's like priceless. I wouldn't be able to sell it, even though it looks like nothing anybody would buy, because of the energy that my daughter put into that. The same with the energy you do with other things. So writing is huge. It's a big thing especially within the deen, especially when it comes to creating a future that you want and making sure you're writing it down.
Correct. Yeah.
Inshallah. And just to tell you guys, I think we're in the last 5 minutes of the conversation. So I'd like to end with this final question. People, all of them are asking, and as Brother Omar succinctly asked, what are the practicalities? How can we take this opportunity now that we have, that's coming up in the month of Ramadan, and elevate ourselves and our kids? What are some practical examples that you can give us so that we can elevate ourselves and get our children also to be focused during the month of Ramadan?
Well, besides all that we've been saying, because these are all foundations of what we've been discussing, reflecting on Tawheed. If there is one surah in the Quran, when people ask me, what is your favorite, most powerful surah in the Quran? I tell them Surah Al-Ikhlas. قل بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل والله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. This is the surah of Tawheed. We as a Muslim population should focus on Tawheed, understand Allah, know who is Allah, try to reflect on that, question, read. Even if you're confused, even if we're misconceived, even if we think Allah does one way and actually it's another way. I've had conversations with some of our Muslim youth who anthropomorphize Allah. They really think that on Judgment Day they will actually see Allah on a throne. They feel that Allah can make mistakes. They say, if Allah wants to throw me in hell because it makes him happy, then God may throw me in hell. I said, no, that's not true. Allah has authority of everything. His nature, his essential nature is so positive that such thoughts should not cross this under Tawheed. These are things we haven't spent much time reflecting. And if our usul ad-din is weak and we don't understand the role of God and the purpose of creation, the role of prophets and the purpose of their existence, the role of the guidance systems of imams in the Quran, for example, and the role of the Day of Judgment and the hereafter and the eternity of paradise. These questions, if we don't spend time to reflect on, discuss them, then our rituals and our prayers will be half-hearted. It will be very difficult. And if we do get into it, it can easily be broken with shaitan. Shaitan can fool us very easily. But if our iman is firmly rooted, when Allah says ulil albab, the ulil albab are firmly rooted people who are convinced at the level of the heart, where they know Allah at the heart level, where there is nothing in the universe that stops their conviction. So from a practical perspective, read some books, discuss. Now, somebody will look and say, brother, I have no time to read. Okay, then don't read. Brother, I have no time to do. Give me a pill I can drink so that, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be a muttaqi. There's no such thing. Prophet suffered. So the practical measures are maintain your salah. Keep away from haram. If you backbite, stop it. If you gossip, stop it. If you're arrogant, or if you and I make incendiary comments, or what we call comments against others, or we belittle somebody, stop. Immediately stop. Say, wait, why did I do that? Stop. That consciousness is the most practical approach to reaching Allah. There is no other reason. Somebody will say, when you go up to the mountain of Tur Sinai and open up the Quran facing the Qibla and read this ayah and a light will come from the sky. Stop, please. People are asking me this kind of question. Can I do that? Why? Why do you want magic? You want something outlandish, outrageous. Why? The religion of Allah is in us. It's in our homes. It's with us. You'll find the greatest companions of the prophets and the imams were not people who were, super high-tech people. They were simple people. Salman Farsi was simple. Abu Dhar was a simple man. What made them so close? Miqdad, you look at all these great companions. What made them so great? Simple. But in what sense? Practical. But if we don't have that God consciousness, I know people who don't pray. They come to me and say, brother, I've stopped praying. Why? Oh, it doesn't work. Prayer doesn't work. I don't think it's being accepted. Or when I pray, I can't focus. Yeah, it's great just to throw it, into the trash. But tell them there's a ticker symbol in Wall Street that if you understand it, you'll make $1 million. Oh, right there. Nobody asked me practical ways on how to get rich. Right away, you will read up, you will be right at it. You'll know all the nuances of investments, right? Well, how about that practicality? Well, that practicality is that I'm attracted to it, I want it. Well, how about this? If we don't want it, we will never get it. But many times we say, well, I don't want it, but I want you to give it to me. Well, guess what? You'll never get it if you don't want it. That's the way life works. So the most practical measure, we have a Quran. Inna hadha al-Quran yahdi lillati yaqwa. Mashallah. Subhanallah, salawat. Yeah, very nice. Now what did you do with it? Well, mashallah, it's beautiful. No. You go home. You said, mashallah. Allah said, lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Why do you say that which you don't do? Go home. Practical. Read a surah. People say, but I read it. It doesn't help me. No. Keep reading and ask Allah. I'll give you a simple example. And this, to me, is very profound. I want you to pay attention to this. I was watching the biography of Allama Tabatabai, rahmatullahi alayhi. And honestly, I cried. And until now, if I remember him, just his face, I want to cry. Because I see this man connected to Allah. I see his resonance with God. He has left this world, right? He is to me a shaheed. But his presence is here. I feel it. And there was something that his son was explaining that touched me so much. And I said, well, it's there, it's real. But I keep asking for these grandiose, miracles of Jibreel to come down and change me. So that's my foolishness. What was the reality? Allama was, most of his life was an orphan. His mother and father died at very early age, and he was raised by his uncle. And he was put in the hawza early on. And he's a child, comes from a good family, very reputable family, very pious family, but he's a child. So he says, my teacher was teaching me for over a year, and I wasn't paying attention. I was not intrigued by it. I wasn't into my lesson. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. It's not magic. It's very simple. And I'm being emotional because it's so simple that I'm wondering why we haven't taken it. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Allah says, Ad'uni astajib lakum. Where? How? Which mountain do I need to go? What? No. And if you did sujood, it didn't work, do it again. Something wrong with the sujood? Maybe. Maybe Allah has accepted that right away, but it takes time. Allama is sitting there and his teacher is teaching him, and his teacher gets frustrated. He's a young boy. And his teacher says to Allama, Tabatabai, marhum, he says, if you don't focus in my class to learn what I'm giving you, I will stop teaching you. Now, this was a great teacher. You know, Allama Qadi was his great teacher, and he was related to him. Allama goes into the corner of his room and does 2 rak'ah salah. And you know, it hit me so hard. You might think, oh, this is just a sentence. No, it's beyond real. If you think somebody can walk on water is great, I think this is greater. Walking on water is not great. This, what I'm saying, is greater. And I say it with my heart. I'm being emotional about it because I feel it. It's real. He went into a corner and he did 2 rak'ah salah and he went into sujood and he said to God, make me love to gain knowledge. In other words, Rabbi zidni ilman fahman, you know, make me also to have ma'rifah. Let me have desire to learn. I have no desire to learn. This teacher is teaching me. I have no desire to learn. And I'm going to lose out if I don't learn. Many times, what would you and I do? We'd pack up and leave. He goes and does 2 rak'ah salah and he does sujood. And his son is saying, my father told me when he rose from that sujood, just that same moment, he felt something. He said, I could not stop reading and learning up to his death. He wrote Al-Mizan fi Tafsir al-Quran, which was one of the most profound miracles of our time. Quran bil Quran tafsir, it didn't exist. Think about it. A scholar who is so revolutionary in his time in the Hawza, between Najaf and Qum, that this man changed the dynamics of Hawza. He says, 16 hours a day, he was reading, writing. For 30 years plus, he spent 20 years, I think 24 years he mentioned, 24 years writing Al-Mizan fi Tafsir al-Quran. 24 years, you know, when you read Al-Mizan and the exegesis of the Quran and the description of each ayah and the way he's presenting it with such lucidness, and you're scratching it like, how did you do this? How did you come up with this idea? How did you connect these 2 verses? And subhanAllah is talking to you because he did those 2 rak'ah. That's the solution. Dua. Get into sujood. Beg him. Allah will never refuse us. You want to change? You and I must want to change. If we don't, let's not look for excuses.
Brother Abbas, I'll just add, because he used the name Allama Tabatabai, I use his mental rehearsal. He actually wrote about how to do mental rehearsal meditation. And just thinking and grading how you feel that, you know, the modern people like Joe Dispenza and other people are also now tapping into the science. So my wife came to me, she says, you know, I was supposed to go to Miami because she's into powerlifting and weightlifting, and the trip cost was for free. But the person said, I need $270 for spending money. So I said, well, I was about to give it to her. I said, why don't you rehearse, pray, do dua, and make sure it's going to come unexpected, but somebody's going to give you the money or somehow the money's going to appear. Let's just try for a few days. So honestly, it's a lot of Tabatabai's teachings too that I use in terms of mental rehearsal. And she did it, and 3 days go by, and her mom, who's a non-Muslim, bought her an instant ticket, a raffle ticket, and they thought it was a loser. So the next day I go, I look in the floor, and there's a ticket, and I say, where'd this ticket come from? They said, oh, it's my mom, it's a loser. I look, it was a $300 winner. And how much did the ticket cost? $30. So she gave it back to her mom. The mom took the $30, says, here's $270. And what's the application is when you just have this happen one time where you pray and your prayers are rejected, never of the soul. When you pray from the soul, it says, I don't reject that. Most of our prayers are rejected because it's prayer of the ego. But you allow that happen one time, just like it happened to Allama Tabatabai. You can never live. You can never go back to that old self. It doesn't exist anymore. And that's what Hajj Hassanin is crying for, saying, just do that once. Have that awe moment one time. You can never go back. And that's the key.
This is one practical means.
MashaAllah, thank you so much, guys. I'm so sorry. I know I'm interrupting, but I think at this point we have to kind of cut off.
Yeah, that's fine. So are we ending with a dua? Or
yeah, before we end, there's just one quick question. Somebody was asking about your Camp Taha. If there's just a website you can tell them that they can go to and understand if you're having it this year or not, I'm not sure. But if you could just say a quick website address, and they can go there and look.
tawheed camp.org. Depending on how the COVID situation will happen, we're hoping that by that time in July, August, inshallah, we'll be able to do something.
Maybe limited numbers.
Maybe in a limited number. We'll see. That we would love to do it. A lot of people are
Inshallah.
asking. They're longing for it.
Brilliant. So
And by the way, I'll be doing Ramadan lectures.
DHECAMP.
I'll be doing Ramadan lectures from tomorrow, and they will be we're going to send out the ad, and it's going to be on Endlight Media. So it'll be all live broadcasted, and we'll have a panel with, discussions and so on. But it'll be a 30-minute lecture on Quranic sciences, reference to Ramadan, and of course, Quranic sciences in general. And then there'll be a Q&A session with the panel every day for every night, inshallah, for those of you who are interested.
Inshallah, brother, did you want to finish with a dua, and then I'll just wrap up?
Yeah, so the dua that I gave last time, I know that some of you have received it, but inshallah, we'll share it again. It's about the memorization of the Quran, and this is by Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Sayfa Alawiyya. Imam Ali alayhi salam has given us this dua. It's very beautiful, and I'd like to end with it. It says, Allahumma arhamni, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allahumma arhamni bi tarki al-ma'asi, abadan ma abghaytani, فارحمني من تكلف ما لا ينين وارزقني حسن المنظر فيما يرضيك عني والزم قلبي حفظ كتابك كما علمتني وارزقني أن أتلوه على النحو الذي يرضيك عني اللهم نور بصري واشرح به صدري وفرج به قلبي وأطلق به لساني واستعملني به بدني وقوني على ذلك وعني عليه إنه لا معين عليه إلا أنت لا إله إلا أنت. Oh Allah, have mercy on me so that I may give up sinning forever till I am alive. What a beautiful verse, right? Stop sinning. 40 days, stop sinning. You want the most practical thing in life? Stop sinning for 40 days and you will find sinning will become much harder. Then another 40 days will become almost very difficult. In other words, you won't sin as easy. Have mercy on me so that I may never have to face anything difficult or troublesome which I cannot endure. Make me an object of exalted appearance which pleases you, and let my heart memorize your book as if both are inseparable from each other, just as you have given me the faculty to understand it. And let my recitation of it be most agreeable to you. O Allah, with it, enlighten my insight, increase my power of understanding, give joy to my heart, make my speech fluent, cause my body to work, and for this make me strong, assist me, because to make it possible, there is no one to help me except you. There is no God except you.
You know, when you get a letter from your beloved, you'll take time and read it. You know, a lot of times we take things and like the Quran, we'll dismiss it. But what that dua is basically telling you, it's a letter from your beloved.
وَالْزَمْ قَلْبِي حِفْظَ كِتَابِكَ. My Lord, make my heart memorize your book. Keep asking this. You will be amazed how your heart will just, if you want it, it'll come. Look, Brother Hussein gave some material examples, right, of money, right? People like Joe Dispenza, materially it works. Can you imagine spiritually not working?
Much higher.
Just think about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for that.
You,
I really appreciate. Thank you, Brother Hassanain and Brother Hussein and Brother Omar as well for joining in.
Thank you, Brother Omar. Thank you for joining us.
I'm sure you can continue to keep discussing this, but I know that the time is short. So thank you for everything that you guys have done. And inshallah, we'll have more of these sessions coming up soon.
Inshallah.
We're definitely indebted to both of you for coming in. So just wanted to end with a famous tradition narrated by both Sunni and Shia scholars, where the Holy Prophet has said, fasting is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, fasting is for me and I am the one who rewards for it. When Prophet Yusuf met the person who advised Zuleika's father on his innocence, years after the incident, he showered him with rewards and status.
So true.
Angel Jibrail at that time told him, you as a human have rewarded a man for doing something for you. Imagine what your Lord will do for you when you go back to him. And that is what the Shahr Ramadan is all about, going back to him.
Beautiful way
So on
to
behalf of Masjid Al-Hay, the Wise Academy, and MIT Mubin, we'd like to thank you, our audience, for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you in future programs as well, inshallah. May Allah accept all your du'as and prayers in the coming holy month. And we request you to keep us in your prayers as well. وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.